Okay.
Yeah.
All right, question 1. Was the VC industry attractive for A16Z to enter in 2009? What was the competition like at the time? What was the typical fate of the new entry in this industry? Why was this so? And what were the trends in the VC fund performance during this time?
It's hard to be a VC. Like, there was only like 40% of the companies that you invested in failed, and the other 40% you got okay returns on. And then like the other 20% was the high returns. And on top of that, like if you wanted to be like the top company, like receiving those high returns, like you had to be top in the market. Like, I don't know, was it 5 firms or something? I don't know. Well, I don't think it was very
I don't think it was very attractive either, because if you go to the Exhibit 5, it talks about the VC firms in existence. And in 2002, there was 1,089. And in 2012, there's 841. So it's a shrinking market. From 1992 to 2002, it was a growing market. And then from 2002 to 2012, it was shrinking. And I agree that the profit margins, you had to be in VC established for a long time before you could even become one of the top VC.
Wasn't like the top 5 or something, or like the only known or something like that.
Yeah, many VCs were successful, but many failed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, next question. With all the entrenched incumbents and catch-22s, what silver lining did A16Z see? How did they plan to succeed in this difficult environment?
I think it was awesome here that A16Z, the co-founders were entrepreneurs themselves, and so they'd already built a network for themselves, trying to gain investors to invest in their business idea. And so I think that was part of the silver lining that they saw. But then they also talked to, I can't remember who it was. Do you guys remember?
Yeah.
They gave them the idea.
Yeah. They thought about a new business model and creating a network with the experts.
Right. There was someone that they talked to that said, this is how we run our company. And they took that they could do that in venture capital.
Oh, they did talk, or I don't know if they talked to, but they like saw how investment banks and talent agencies and consulting firms, kind of their structure, and kind of took those because VCs ignored it. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Keep going with that thought.
That was my thought.
Oh.
Yeah, the business model they used was different, similar to banks or agencies.
So yeah, the traditional VCs didn't see the founders of a business as a CEO because they didn't have the network or the knowledge of sales, marketing, hiring. They didn't have all those hats, so to speak. And so that was their silver lining when they found out that they could create a network to help those co-founders with those tasks in expanding business.
They build an operating team.
Yeah, the operating team.
All right, so then the next question says, why is A16Z specifically targeting first-time technical co-founders? How has the cost of tech startups impacted the VC industry? How was it impacted? How has it impacted the need for technical co-founders to raise capital? Do these trends apply to the other sectors, such as life science or clean tech?
Yeah, I have no idea about this point.
These are really in-depth questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Sorry, guys, these aren't mine.
You're good.
So I think they targeted the first-time technical co-founders because they didn't have the networking. They were totally lost. They had a great business idea, but they didn't have the resources necessarily how to run their business to be successful, because most businesses or startup businesses, most of them failed. And I can't remember if it was in this case or another case that gave them like a 40% fail rate. And so they wanted those first-time co-founders because they didn't have any of that information and they knew that they could be helpful to them. Yeah, it says here. Oh, no, that's not it. This is for something else.
We move on to the next question. That one kind of stumped me.
Yeah, a little bit the same.
All right, the next question says, what choices do technical founders have for financial that they did not have a decade ago? Or the decade before? They didn't have a decade before.
I guess the clarifying question on that is, what decade are they talking about? Are we talking about now versus 2009 or 2009 versus 1999?
Yeah.
I would say the last one, or 2009 versus 1999. I don't know, maybe not.
No, it's just thought process I hadn't thought about.
Isn't that the difference between like the public and the private? Because didn't it say that a lot of the co-founders were going private and they were staying private for 7 years, which was like an all-time high?
What do you mean staying private? Like, elaborate. I guess I'm just kind of confused.
So from my understanding, private is with these venture capitalists. They didn't make their initial public offering to the regular stock, to the public equity markets. And so now they had access now to go to do their initial public offering quicker.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is like a bunch of investment jargon.
It really is. It's like it is a lot heavier than a lot of the other ones we've had to read, so it's like harder to remember exactly where to go with it.
Yeah. So because it says, and it's on page 5 in the case. If you guys have it pulled up.
Yeah, I do.
It says it's in the second paragraph that starts at the other end of investing spectrum. in that paragraph, it says startups are staying private longer because they have access to plenty of capital without tapping public equity markets, and because being public imposes a big burden in terms of dealing with short-term orientated investors and regulators.
Yeah, I would say that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. That definitely covers it.
This is super random, but are you by the ping pong tables in Rexburg?
I am.
I can hear it like do 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 do.
I'm in one of the whatever study rooms or whatever.
That's funny. All right.
I wish I would have thought of that. I snuck into like the tutoring center and stole one of their rooms. I'm waiting to get kicked out at any moment.
Well, I got plenty of room in here if you do.
All right, I appreciate it.
The joys of campus.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So next we're going to talk about VC firms compete on their ability to source, pick, and win. How does A16Z's business model influence these abilities compared to other VC firms? I feel like from my understanding, I'm not really into like the whole investing thing, so I might be wrong. I don't know. I just kind of, this is what I grazed from the case study, is that I feel like the A16Z kind of did their company or whatever differently than others, because they said something about how they were hiring their GP, like their general partners, and how they were doing it differently than others because they were like we're requiring them to have been a CEO or CFO or been an entrepreneur. Or, so they kind of had like a different take in it maybe, and they brought more to the table than other people. I don't know. I think from what I understood, that was different than what the VC firms were doing, but I don't know. Yes.
I think they were able to support the startups because they were hiring general partners and create an operating team.
Mm-hmm. And I felt like too, just their environment in general sounded, I don't know, like more welcoming, I guess. I felt like everybody like had a voice and they were able to like use it, I guess. And I feel like they kind of said that and mentioned it.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just think they had like I kind of missed the question, but I'm pretty sure you're talking about like what made them different from other VCs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it was just they had, going along with you, Morgan, is like they had a lot of experience behind them because they hired like the CEOs and everything, and so they were able to help the entrepreneurs in marketing and recruiting and business development. And on top of that, they made sure that their operating teams did not coddle the entrepreneurs. Like they still had to do their work. They still had to put in their time. Even though that they had a big chunk of money in the company, they still wanted the entrepreneurs to go out and do stuff. And so I think that was what was separating them from other VCs.
I think you hit that right on the nail because that's what it says on page 8.
Perfect.
Because they had to pick the right opportunity, and once they picked the right opportunity, they had to do everything to help that company win. And so they had to accelerate the development by having, you know, those CEOs, CFOs, or the previous entrepreneurs come in and say, hey, this is my experience.
Yeah.
And they also did weekly reviews. So they looked at the opportunity and then they asked questions. Why did we pick this up? Why did we not pick this up? Why did they go to other venture capitalists? What could we do different? What can we offer? So they were continually learning and seeking for ways that they could find value for their potential customers.
Yeah, I liked how it was like other VCs like disregarded like Google and Facebook and eBay because their weaknesses were so high. But look at that now, like they're like these big companies.
And going along with that, I think that increased A16Z's potential because they didn't look just on the weakness, they looked on the opportunity, and there's what they had currently at the time.
Seemed like they also were emphasizing being able to like shore up those weaknesses and harbor those strengths as well. Like they weren't just putting seed money in, they were investing their own time and making sure that their company was built around being able to grow the companies they invested in.
Go to the next one. Okay. Think of source as the ability to get founders to come in the door seeking money. How does the way A16Z treats its founders different from a way the traditional VC treats them? Will this increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of potential deals A16Z sees compared to the competition? I think Chantel kind of mentioned it, how they didn't like coddle them. They kind of just let them, like they gave them the money and then they kind of oversaw what they did, but they didn't do it for them, I guess. Or is it founders? I guess that would be their investors. Never mind. Think of the source as the ability to get founders to come in the doors. Or would the founders be the entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. I'm thinking of like the founders as being like the founders. Yeah, I'm confused. Sorry.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, they treated him like like the founder of their business. They didn't treat him as the low man on the totem pole just with a good idea.
So are we, just to clarify, we're talking about the difference between how A16Z chooses which investments they're going to do from other VCs, or no?
It's how they treat them, I think, differently than the VC.
Oh, okay. Treating.
That was the question.
I liked in the, okay, I found it funny. They kind of talked about how like when entrepreneurs would come in to give their pitch and all, like the members would be late, and then they kind of joked that, yeah, and then after they were late, they were on their phones the whole time. And so they were pretty much like, when we have someone here giving us their idea, we're going to be attentive. And every, I think it was like minute you're late, it's a $10 fine. And just so they showed their customers that they really cared about them and cared about their business and wanted them to succeed, even if they didn't invest in their company.
Yeah. And also on page 2, it says VC frequently remove technical founders from the CEO role because they felt that the founders did not understand sales, marketing, and organizational building, and lack of personal network to tackle such tasks.
Yeah, no. Question. All right, next. How will this change if A16Z begins to fire CEOs because they are not performing well? Will this increase, decrease, or have no effect on the number of deals A16Z seeks compared to the competition? Does this mean like the CEOs, like their general partner CEOs, or the CEOs of the founders? Anyone?
I think it's the CEOs within A16Z,
Okay.
because it talked about that at the end of the case. Because if they weren't performing well, they had to get rid of them because the culture that they had created was teamwork. They were all basking in everyone's successes and helping pick up in when failures or when hardships came with their current investments.
Did it say anything about how the VC firms treated their CEOs?
Like the traditional VCs?
Yeah.
Not that I remember reading.
I don't remember either.
Yeah.
And so if they do fire the CEOs that aren't performing well, I think it'll actually increase the number of potential deals because they do want to see success. And if they're not performing well, it's hard to be successful, especially when it comes to teams.
The next question says, how does the operating team help A16Z source? Pick when. Does it increase the odds of getting more high quality deal flow? If so, why? Does it affect A16Z's ability to pick winners? Does it actually have an impact on the odds of success for a A16Z portfolio company? If so, how? If not, why do you think that?
With that, I think the operating team helps just in every aspect. When there's a business opportunity, I think they come in and they, from their own personal experience, they're able to pick up what a good opportunity is and what it's not because of their previous experience.
I mean, it's fairly straightforward. I agree with that statement. I think a solid operation team overlooking the last case we just talked about could have helped a lot, but I think there wasn't enough oversight with that last case, and that led to some missed opportunities. So I think this company has a good operation team that's going to help them succeed in the industry.
And going along with the rest of those questions, I think it increases the odds for the high quality deal flow because of that, because if they have the experience, they can give tips and tricks on how to do things to make that business successful, whether it's in hiring, marketing, or sales, whatever it is. And based on those, I think A16Z's ability to pick winners is much greater than its competitors.
All right, question 3 says, put yourself in the shoes of Andreessen and Horowitz. You must decide whether or not to seek to double your assets under management. Vote as a group. The decision must be anonymous. Consider the following as you decide.
Oh, this is going to be tough.
So it says, consider the following as you decide. I'll just read them all and you guys can think. I'll read them. It says, how many portfolio companies can one general partner reasonably support? Are there any economies of scale in this business? Will you have to hire more operating teams or team people? If so, will the partners actually make more money or doubling their assets? Or will all the additional profits go to hiring people? Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't think about all those costs.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't the max of how many general partners could portfolios they could hold? Wasn't that 10? Pretty sure. And then anything after that, they were like, they'd be stretched too thin.
I think it would be a good idea to double assets under management over the next few years, diversifying into other sectors, but not into other geographies. If they double assets under management, it will allow them to maintain the same corporate culture and business approach strategy. So it's a good choice. It's a good choice, I think.
Chantal, where did you read that they could only take on 10? Do you remember where?
I can find it. Give me a minute. Page 13. So it says most venture capital partners sat on no more than 10, about 10 company boards. Oh, just kidding. On the point, they could be stretched too thin and effective. Most venture capital partners sat on no more than 10. So when they say, so it's on page 13, under looking ahead, the last paragraph. It says about, so most venture capital partners sat on no more than about 10 portfolio company boards. So does that mean like the ones that they invested in? Is that the portfolio boards? Or did I read that wrong?
Well, now that you asked that in that way, I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Well, and then it continues on. It's like they could be stretched too thin to be effective at advertising the companies and at sourcing the deals. So I'm assuming that it's per each company that they invest in.
We only have 10 more minutes left, so let's try and get our votes in before time.
So with the portfolio board, it says when the owners need a high-level macro view of their portfolio of companies, they typically have these boards in place for their operating company. A portfolio board is the next step in the evolution of a family company's governance system. So yeah, I'm taking that as the company can only sit on 10 portfolios.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to.
Is how I'm taking that. So if that's the case, then I would suggest it's not very wise. To Yeah,
sit on 10 portfolios or each of the general partners?
I think it's just saying, because it says capital partners. Is that the same thing as general partners? I took it as yes, that it was the same thing.
So say there's 8 general partners. Does that mean 80 portfolios?
yes.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just confused, I guess, more on what they should do.
Do you guys remember seeing if there's how many companies they are currently in a deal with at the time of this case?
I don't remember reading anything on that.
Me too. No.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because looking on the case, it doesn't sound like they're involved too heavily yet, so they might still be able to double and be fine and be within that 80 portfolio threshold.
Well, don't they have to hire more general partners?
Well, they already have 8.
Oh, and you're saying they're not up to the max portfolio.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Wait, they do have 8? I was just throwing that number out.
I'm finding them right now. So 1 is Margaret, 2 is Scott Weiss, 3 is Jeff Stump, 4 is Jamie McGurk, 5 is Peter Levine, 6 is Scott Kopor, 7 is Jeff Jordan, 8 is Chris Dixon, 9 is Mark Craney, 10 is Shannon Callahan. Looks like there's 10. So their threshold would be 100 portfolios.
What about the owners, or like the fountain, like Anderson and Horowitz?
So if you count those, that would be 12. So
Yeah,
that would be
I
a
think,
lot of portfolios to take on. So I still think that they could double assets.
yeah. I think they refer to doubling the 74 non-GPs.
All right.
Because in the preparation it says so.
And then with the economies of scale in this business, I totally think that they could do that.
So we're all voting to double their assets, right?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. And that ends that problem, resolves that issue. And
If they double, though, do you really think that they'd make double? They'd make more money for doubling their assets?
I mean, not necessarily initially. I think naturally they'll have a few bad trades, because pulling in 200, all of a sudden doubling that much and pulling in that many more opportunities is naturally going to lead to some bad companies. But I think it allows for them to expand their size and then work towards optimizing those 200 companies and making sure they're only investing in the best companies again.
Okay. I can agree with that, because in the beginning of the case, it brings up that point when they were starting out that they had done really well picking their investments,
Yeah.
which caused them to get to this point. So yeah, I'm good with that.
Cool.
Yeah, they may double in the long run.
Perfect.
all right. Well, did you guys seen like towards the end of the week, we have a group project or group assignment?
I'm actually looking at that right now.
Yeah.
Is there a time?
Yeah, I think we should share our answer by email. And this way we can better, what do you think? It's better for share in the asynchronous time, also because the time zone reason. What do you think?
Or we could just meet up at one more time this week and type something up for these. Because that's all we have to do is answer these questions. Is that right?
That's what it looks like. Just answer those 2 questions.
I can't meet to like today any longer, but I would be fine with meeting tomorrow or Friday sometime.
Guys, for me, I'm sorry, it's impossible because I have a full-time jobs, guys, and also other class, and I have also the bishopric meeting because I'm a bishop, and so it's a lot. I have my life is very busy.
Okay.
So this is the only day of the week. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. How about the rest of us meet and he emails his input and then we type up something? Because I don't think it would take more than 30 minutes.
What time do we want to meet? Do we want to meet Friday or Thursday? I have another group I'm meeting on Thursday as well. So, but I know Fridays aren't that fun to meet on. So.
Okay, I can email you my answers.
Yep, that sounds perfect. Thank you.
I can
You're
do
welcome. Thank you.
Thursday evening or Friday morning.